Welcome to Entrepreneurs Conquering the World. How to build a global audience and profit from it. With your host, Carmen Ring.
Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Entrepreneurs Conquering the World. My name is Carmen Ring, I am your host, and today I have with me Mac Attram. Mac is a serial entrepreneur, investor, and author known as one of Europe's most respected business mentors. In 2013, he was awarded the Executive Coach of the Year in the UK, and over the last year, he shared the stage with Robert Kiyosaki, T. Harv Eker, Les Brown, and this is just to name a few. He was also featured in Forbes and the Huffington Post. But you know what? I'm going to let him tell you more about himself. Mac, welcome to our show. Why don't you tell us more about yourself and your career journey?
Well, thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to be on your program here, on your show. I really appreciate you inviting me. A little bit about myself. Not too long ago, as a business owner, came to a point where I ended up working too many hours, long hours, 70 hours, 80 hours, 90 hours a week, not seeing my young family. I was newly married then, and after a few years, we had our new baby. And I was working so hard, I wasn't even seeing my family. And it came to a point when my wife was pregnant with our second child, and years had gone, and I thought I hadn't really seen much of our first child. And things were not going right in my business. My business partners had left me in a mess. I was over $100,000 in debt at that time. And I started to learn, and I wanted to know how successful, wealthy people actually do business. And I then used all that methods, fixed it, and started teaching other people. In the last few years, so as a serial entrepreneur, I've sold that business and I invest in other businesses right now, consulting and helping other business owners make a lot more money in their business, have more time off as well.
And I know that your business is always expanding. You are now in how many countries? How international would you say your business is? I know you teach in a lot of countries and you travel all around the world. Just give us an idea of how big your business is right now.
Yeah, right now I have clients in 4 continents around the world: Australia, all over Asia, all over Africa, and in South America and in North America as well. And we are in over 25 countries, and that's on the speak and the coaching and the training side of things, working with small business owners, helping them to, as I said earlier on, make a lot more money through their business. And essentially that they create their business in a way that the business doesn't become over-reliant on them. And as you know, if your business relies on you as the owner ongoing, it doesn't give you much time, freedom for yourself, for your family, and other things that are just as important. So one of the things I have a pleasure in, I have a passion in, is helping people create the ideal type of business they want for themselves. So we are in over 20 countries around the world.
And, this is huge, especially, on all the continents you are. What's the difference? Have you noticed any differences in working with people from different cultures, in how they start their business, how they approach the business world, and how they react to your message and your advice? Because you are only one, and they are thousands and thousands and thousands. So how do you do so you can match everyone's needs?
Yeah, absolutely. And country to country, continent to continent, there are slight variations. Now, I have the pleasure of being invited by key partners around the world to come and speak on large platforms, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people at a time. And I have pleasure doing that. And I noticed the cultural differences in terms of when I'm teaching and when I'm giving the information out. Let's say, for example, the American market or the audience is very much different from, the Southeast Asian market, where in the Southeast, in terms of doing business, Southeast Asia rather, in terms of doing business, they are very much, in terms of doing business with individually, in terms of transactions, it's a slower pace. They want to know the person before they do any kind of transaction. So it takes them a little bit longer to know you, like you, and trust you. And so most times business is done not just by someone agreeing, but they want to have coffee with you, dinner with you. They want to get to know who you are before they even move forward. So it's a trust game. And I know all over the world, it's all about trust, but they're just more cautious and will do business over food and drink rather than any other way. So it varies.
And based on this background that you know about them, do you also use different marketing techniques to promote your programs and your coaching business, or is it marketing is the same all over?
Yeah, I think marketing is the same all over, but essentially it's about knowing the audience. And for me, a lot of the marketing we do is done on the stage, on the platform. And the only reason why I can be able to do a lot of the work I do internationally is because I have key partners in those countries. Just imagine, like you said, there's me, and I have some coaches here in the United Kingdom and expanding around the world as well. But when I go into those countries, the only reason I can go in there is because there are partners there already who understand the local marketplace. So I'm coming in with an international flavor, but to a local market. And human beings are human beings. Whatever I'm teaching around personal development or business development, we are all the same. And I found it's the same true in any country I go to. People want virtually the same thing. They want more happiness and more joy. They want more loving relationships, and they want to make a lot more money and have the lifestyle that they want. So often in some countries, when I'm speaking, they're wearing translation headsets, but the translation may take a few seconds to get through, but they get it. They understand. And human psychology is human psychology. We think the same, but there are only cultural differences that I found.
So it sounds like the culture itself is not necessarily a challenge in your business. You learned how to manage it. You got the tricks of it. Are there any challenges for you in running an international business?
Yeah, actually, when you were saying that just now, and I just thought that there are some countries where, especially Southeast Asia, they have a lot more respect in terms of somehow their teachers. So they revere their teachers, their trainers. And I respect that. Not that, the UK or Europe or USA or Australia doesn't have that. They do have that. But I found in Southeast Asia, it's just another level of wanting to learn, the hunger or the thirst to learn and actually revere their teachers. In terms of running, any challenges in terms of running international business, some of the main challenges are, what I found, if I have the wrong partners in those countries, it's a big challenge because they know the local market. And if they don't do what they need to do, it affects my business. The other thing is the language. And hence the reason why often we get them to wear the headsets. So the translation can happen. And if someone is really, really good at translating English to that language and vice versa, it makes things much easier. The students or the people who are learning or the business owners, they have a better time and they understand better and they can utilize the information. The time zone differences. So being aware that, USA, from UK, it's a 5-hour time difference. Malaysia or Singapore is an 8-hour time difference to the UK. So we, as an office here in the UK, we always bear that in mind when we are contacting our clients overseas.
And because you said that you mentioned one of the first challenges, so I understand for the translation you use the headsets. But for the partners, and I guess a translator can also be seen as one of your partners since it's such an important part of your business.
Oh, absolutely.
How do you manage that? How do you have a team who's recruiting or who's finding partners? How do you make sure you have the right partners in those countries?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very blessed that I work with one of the largest seminar companies in the world, not one of the largest seminar company in the world, who have introduced me to other partners as well. And they're very, very good at what they do. And because they're very good at what they do, often they have found the right translation. They find the right people who can translate and translate very effectively. So not just the words, but the intention behind the words. And so is interpreting. So sometimes in English, we may say something, but in their own local language, if you put it in a slightly different way, the kind of people we use are people who are professional, who are very good, and they are grounded and have experience in that field, rather than someone who can speak a bit of the Vietnamese and speak a bit of English. Someone who can speak English very well and Vietnamese very, very well makes the whole experience much, much more valuable and more interesting and fun.
And now moving forward to another success in your career that you didn't mention yet, but I will. Actually, I said at the beginning you are an author, and
Yes.
I know you wrote more than one book that are very successful. And first of all, I'd like you to tell me what inspired you to become an author. Why did you make this change? And then, if you can tell us, how do you use your book as a marketing tool? You know, how does it help you in your career? And if you are planning to use it more like to conquer new markets in terms of if you're going to translate your book, if you think this is going to take your message further to new markets.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Good, very, very good question, Carmen. And so, yeah, I'm an author of 3 books. My 3rd book, actually, which will be launched, we're launching that exact next week. T. Harv Eker said this. T. Harv Eker, you know him, he said, "Face it and fix it," which is the title of this book. It's the shot in the arm that every owner of a struggling business needs. So that will be launched. So why do I author books and publish them? Well, about 11 years ago, I discovered, when I'd fixed my business and sold it, and I got into the training and coaching business, I discovered my true mission on this planet is very simple. I discovered it is to inspire, educate, and empower people to live a life of joy, courage, passion, and purpose. And I work with a lot of individuals, and I work with a lot of small business owners. And everything I do, I go back to my mission and saying, is the activity I'm doing, or is the person I'm getting involved with, does it fit my mission? And if it does, I go forward at full speed. If it doesn't, I leave it alone. So nowadays, I do what I'm passionate about. I do what's in line with my mission, what brings me joy, and what adds value to a lot of people's lives. How did you do this? How did you do this? How did you get here? How did you come from over $100,000 in debt to becoming a multi-millionaire? What happened? And so I get it all on paper. So I get it on here, and then that now reaches thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, and they get all the information in one place. And so how does that help me? Publishing a book, and as I said, this is my 3rd one, it positions me or gives me further credibility as an expert in the field that I'm in. And not only that, but whenever I travel internationally, and if I say I'm an author, people are interested in what my books are about. And it positions me slightly different from someone who is not an author. So being an author gives you expert status, whether that means anything to anybody or not, but often it does, because it's, as you can imagine, it takes time, effort, hard work just to get all your thoughts out of your head and onto paper. So I don't know if I answered your question just now.
You did. And the only one thing that I still want to know is if you're planning to have it translated so you can easily reach all these markets that you're going on, so you can give your message easily.
Absolutely, yes. It will be translated. So this, the moment, will be launched on Amazon next Tuesday the 14th. And after that, then we're going to look at internationally, getting it translated so it can be available to a lot more people, because obviously this is in English, but I have international clients who want this as well. And often they buy the book in English and someone will work with them, but it's easier when they have it in their own language and they get the direct translation. So absolutely, that is a plan to happen.
And the next question applies to both your book and your business also. When you decide to expand on a new market, or when you decide to choose a language, the first language that your book will be translated in. How do you make this decision? And I'm asking you because I've heard some people, they decide they have an interest in a certain market. And a lot of other people, I heard that they just go with the flow, whatever the demand is. So what's your opinion on that? How do you choose your next market?
Thank you. I mean, for me, it's always about demand. If there is a demand, then we'll do it. If there is no demand, then there is no point. So I'll go to where the demand is first and everything else will follow. And so there are certain countries that already know me and there is a demand already. So that's a natural progression. Where there's some of the countries I've never spoken in, I don't have an audience there, people don't know me there. And so that can come later. But sometimes we've had phone calls from people who said, can we have your book in our language? And, oh, right, how do they find us? I don't know. But if they want it and there's a demand, then we'll go with it. So there's two things. Either we go for where there is a demand and we have a presence, or where a demand has been generated because someone's been attracted to us or to me based on the work I've been doing. And
I guess the more you are already expanded, the easier it is to find these demands. Now it's probably you're in a momentum now. Being in so many countries, it's not that difficult anymore for you. But let's look at some people in our audience are more at the beginning process of their business. What advice would you give them if they aspire to be like you, to have maybe a coaching business, but pretty much any kind of business, if they dream of having it international and expanding it and growing? What advice would you give them? Like the first steps, what's one or two things they can do today to move forward in expanding their business?
Okay, very good. And so that's a very great question there, Carmen. And what I would say is this, and I think it was HSBC who had an advert some time ago, advertisement TV, which said, think globally, act locally. Think globally, act locally. I remember that advert very well. And so for anybody wanting to expand, I'll say, if you don't have a presence there, which obviously you're not going to, find the right partners you can work with so that they know the local market. You have the international thinking, they know the local market, and together you can hit that territory and win big. So having the right partners around those different countries allow you to expand easier and more profitably, rather than you going in trying to figure it out all by yourself, which is much, much harder. So that's one of the key tips. The other tip is this, when I talk locally, is understand that local territory. Understand, what the challenges are. So for me, whenever I go into a new country, even if I'm going in there just to talk for a day or 2 days or 4 days, before I go in, I'll do all the research around what the economic and political and social issues are with that particular country. What is going on? What is the education system like? There's nothing worse than going into a country you don't know they've had political changes or they've just elected their new prime minister or president. I want to understand all of that. I want to understand the currency, what the currency is doing, how it's doing against the dollar. So then I have and I still have my international thinking, but now when I go in there, I have more of a local flavor, and I can ask them the right questions. This thing that happened with this prime minister, how does that affect you? This thing that happened with your new tax changes, how does that affect you as a business? Oh, now they think, I know about what's going on. We have commonality now in terms of our languaging. So those are two tips, and I can go on and on and on, but those are two key things that comes to mind as you ask the question.
And I think what you just said about learning about their culture and where they are at that moment, economics, politics, this also allows you to create that trust you're talking about at the beginning of the interview, the connection with the people. They see that you actually care about them. You have an interest, a genuine interest in their community. So I think that helps a lot. This can even be seen as a marketing tool, I think, in this kind of...
Well, I mean, sales and marketing is very much about that. So the very first stage in any sales and marketing is to build rapport. If you can build rapport, then the other person think, oh, right, okay, similar to me, understands me. And I teach a lot of this stuff as well anyway, but you're absolutely right. You can only really have a good interaction with another human being if you can build rapport. And the quicker you can build that rapport, the better for both parties.
And I know you're very successful and you kept talking about your team, and I know you are a mentor to a lot of people and a lot of people look up to you. How about you? Do you have somebody you look up to? Do you have mentors that have been coaching you or guiding you in creating your business or keeping you on track somehow?
Yeah, I mean, I have, I learned from lots of different sources and I list out a whole lot. But one person I work with very, very closely, and I have been for over 10 years now, who's a big mentor of mine, is Blair Singer. And Blair Singer, for those who don't know, he's, and I'm sure you know him as well, is a rich dad advisor to Robert Kiyosaki. And I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Robert Kiyosaki, who's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and amongst other financial and wealth books as well. So Blair, I have a lot of respect for. T. Harv Eker, I have a lot of respect for. Robert Kiyosaki, I have a lot of respect for. I learned from all these people. I also, Richard Tan and Veronica Tan, who are the owners of the world's leading seminar company, Success Resources. I learn a lot from them as well. And, you know, I say success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. So if someone's already been successful in an arena and I want to learn that, I go to those mentors, and now a lot of these mentors have become my friends. I feel so grateful that, you know, at one point I was just learning from them as a student, and now I'm a student, but I'm also friends of theirs. So this is all very good. And I think every business owner, it's important to have a coach, a mentor, because it makes life much easier rather than trying to figure it out all by yourself, which is much, much harder.
And, you know, mentors are definitely something to keep you on track. But I think even with mentors and even with coaches, especially at the beginning of creating the business, and now I'm asking this question so our audience can relate to it, mistakes still happen or failures can still happen. And of course, a coach is there to keep you on track. Would you be able, maybe if you remember something from the beginning of your career, a mistake that you made that had an impact, but however you turned it into a lesson?
Oh, absolutely. You know, you're talking about mistakes. The book that I was showing you earlier on, this one here, actually, there are 43 reasons. Within the book, I explained there's 43 reasons why a business fails, 43 reasons why small businesses fail. And then I'll show you how to fix those. But when I look at my earlier career in my first company, which was a computer company, one of the biggest mistakes was that I really didn't, let me give you two. The first one was that I got into partnership with two other people who I didn't really know that well. And that was a big mistake because imagine this, one of them, as a team, we decided, as a team of directors, one would be responsible for sales and marketing, one would be responsible for the operations of the business, and the other person would be responsible for financial and admin. Now, the sales and marketing person, after a period of time, said, oh, actually, I don't have the time for this anymore. I can't do this anymore, and stopped doing sales and marketing. And I got myself sucked into that. And so that was a big mistake, getting into business with the wrong people. That cost me dearly. And so now I'm very careful who I employ, who I get into partnerships with, because it makes a big, big, big difference. So that's one of the key things.
And I know you just mentioned the 43 reasons that mistakes that you can make in business. I know you have a surprise for our audience in regards to that. And I'm very excited about what you're going to share next, because a lot of the times we find on the market what to do this, and people are trying to do that, but maybe they don't realize that while they try to do that, they are still doing some of the wrong things.
Oh, yeah.
Not that many people that are pointing out to them the wrong things. They just give advice. So I know you have a surprise for us in that field.
Absolutely. What I'd like to do is this. I spent, as I said, I made a lot of mistakes in business. And as I started coaching, as I fixed those things, I started coaching other people. They asked me for help. The last 2 years, people have been asking me the same type of questions. And so I did some research. I interviewed successful businesses who had failed, who were on a verge of failure, and they turned that around. I interviewed them. I did a lot of research into reason why businesses fail, and I've identified 43 reasons why a business fails. As I said, I've created that into a digital book for you, and for your audience, Carmen, I'm more than willing to give it away for free. So you, like you said, once you understand why a business will fail, then you can actually plan not to fall into that trap. And so I'm more than willing to give that away so that it will help small business owners and entrepreneurs really create more success in their life.
So what does our audience have to do to take advantage of this great offer?
Well, what I'll do, we'll give you a link and simply click the link, put your details in, and it's yours. No questions asked. I'm not asking for any money, not asking for anything. But if you love it, then just send us an email saying, oh, thank you for this digital book. Really appreciate it. Nothing else. And just stay in touch. If we can help you in any way to expand or do more business, we're more than happy to help.
And that was my next question. If people would like to stay in touch with you, how can they do it? And of course, they can attend some of your programs, but just briefly tell us the few options they have to stay in touch with you and eventually how you would be able to help them in their businesses.
Absolutely. So they can go to my website. They can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn, Mac Attram. You can also go to my website, mac@mindspacebusiness.com. I'm sure you'll send a link to them as well. They can find me at mac@mindspacebusiness.com, and I can help them furthermore. I can help you furthermore, whichever way. So find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter. I'm all over the web. But specifically my website, you can get me and you can send me messages from there as well.
You know what? And since you mentioned this, there's something I forgot to ask you, and I really wanted to. I know you're all over. You're on all the social media channels. I want you to, in a few words, just tell us about the impact of social media in businesses, because I actually know a lot of people who, at the beginning, they try to run away from social media because they feel it's overwhelming and they can't keep up with it. And then what I've noticed, at one point they say, you know what, I think it's good, let me do it. And then they try to get all of it at once to create Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and everything at once. And that's overwhelming too.
Yeah.
So if you can give us just a little bit of advice of how social media works for you.
Thank you very much, Carmen. For me, it took me a while to get into it. I mean, I started on the social media thing many years ago, very slow, and it was very social. There was no business. It was just, here's a photo of this, a photo of that. But once I became strategic with it, things started to change. So right now, I get emails or phone calls from people who have found me on places like Instagram, which I never really understood, but somehow they found me on Instagram. They found me on Twitter. They found me on LinkedIn. They found me on all over Facebook. And people come to my programs from that. Also, investment opportunities. I've had, in the last 2 weeks alone, 3 people who found me on LinkedIn wanted to tell me about their business, whether I want to invest in it. So these opportunities are really great. If you're a small business owner and you are not using the power of social media, you are missing out, because the future is going to go that way. The future is digital. So if you're not on social media right now, I would say start with, probably the easiest place to start with could be, for some people, it's Twitter. For some people, it's Facebook. But choose one and start doing things on there. There are literally millions of people on Facebook looking for a business like yours. And unless you're telling them you exist, they are not going to find you. Now, let me say this, and I say this to a lot of people. Your business or you are who Google says you are. If someone types your business or they're looking for your type of business or they type your name in and they can't find you, you don't exist according to the planet. Not my rules, it's the internet's law. That's where people go. As soon as you say something, they'll type it in and they'll look for it. And if they can find you on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, you have a chance. Otherwise, they will go to your competitor. And so I highly, highly recommend it. And here's the thing, you don't have to do it yourself. You can do it initially just to see what it's all about. Then you can outsource it to some people who they spend all days doing that kind of thing. So it makes your life much easier and you capitalize from that as well.
And I know there are also some options where you can, because now there are so many social medias, they can be linked together. I know there's an option where you post on Facebook and it goes on your Twitter also, and you can take advantage of all these shortcuts that they offer because somehow there are partnerships between the different social media channels.
Well, there's a program called Hootsuite. Hootsuite, HOOTSUITE.com, Hootsuite. And I used that a few years ago. And basically, like you said, you can put a message there and it will send it directly, instantly. You can schedule it as well. So that it goes to Twitter, it goes to Google Plus, and it goes to Facebook. These places, let's say you don't have a lot of time to go into Facebook and all these places every single day. Go to Hootsuite, get a Hootsuite account, which can be attached to all your social media. You send one message and maybe you spend an hour, put all these messages in, schedule it, and they'll send it out every few days or every few hours or every few weeks. It's up to you. And you don't have to be in there every day. That's a productivity tool I've just given away there for free.
It's a productivity tool and it's a success tool that people like you use because I know the more your business grows, the more strategic and productive you have to become in order to handle everything. So thank you so much for sharing this with us. I know a lot of people are, as I said, I noticed they are almost afraid of social media and feel overwhelmed by it. But I wanted it to come from somebody like you, somebody very successful, and say, you know what, not only it's possible, but it can be easy. Like you said, in 1 hour, you can just have everything scheduled. And I know other people have shared resources like Fiverr, where you can get a virtual assistant who can do that for you for a very decent price,
Absolutely.
For a very reasonable price. They can do that.
Absolutely true. Yes.
Mac, thank you so much for your time. I know a half hour is not a long time, but thank you for sharing your time with us and taking a part of your day to allow us this time together. Thank you again for your generous offer. Once again, you can see on the screen Mac's link to his gift, the book. Take advantage of it now. Stay in touch with him through his website or through his email address, and keep going on your business, keep moving forward, just follow the steps we present here. Mac, thank you once again to all of my audience. I'll see you in our next episode. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for inviting me and good to speak to all of you. Bye for now.
Thank you for watching Entrepreneurs Conquering the World with your host, Carmen Ring.